Welcome to Stories with Steve, a podcast on the Central Buna Podcast Network. Every Thursday in 5 minutes or less, we'll lift you up with stories of how God works behind the scenes in our lives. Romans 8:28 tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. Now with an encouraging story, here's Steve.
You know, sometimes aren't what they seem to be, right? We can see people and things on the outside that look successful, and it can appear to be something and yet be like a house of cards or like a castle made on sand, right? Well, flashback to the year 2000, beginning, the new millennium. I was looking for a job, and I found out that they were hiring at a company in downtown Houston, a company called Enron. Some people may have heard of that company. And so they needed security, and it was a great opportunity for me. And so I applied there, and I got the position. It was kind of a good position. I got to, wear a suit, and I got to mingle with a lot of people. But it was very high pressure in the corporate world. I mean, at that time, that company was doing so well. I mean, stocks were high, and that company was just rocking and rolling. Every day you walked in, you saw this letter E, and you saw the stock prices and stuff. So meeting there was good. I got to go walk on every floor there, all 50 stories, even on the roof at night sometimes, looking down at the streets of Houston. That was kind of scary. But when I first started working there, I thought, man, I really want to meet the CEO. Lord, I just pray I can have an opportunity. So one day I'm getting on the elevator, and I see him, and I introduced myself to him, and he kind of motioned for me to get on the elevator first. And so we're sitting there on the elevator together. I'm like, what do you say to a CEO of a company? There were like 6,000 people in this building, and there were more than that nationwide that work for this company. And we begin to talk, and I begin to say, well, your stocks are doing real good. He goes, yeah, well, people are investing right now because we're doing good. But he seemed very down to earth, and and then I would run into him occasionally, and also sometimes they would call me to like take his suits out to his car. He had a private parking space in the garage, and he drove. I remember he drove a Jaguar and a Land Rover, and so I'd take the car. And I thought to myself, man, I would be like to be like him. I would love to be like a CEO of a company. Man, he seemed like he's got it all together. Well, fast forward, not even a few years, maybe a year later, I was no longer working there, but the company would fall due to some accounting scandals and all that. He personally would be indicted in the situation. And the church that I went to, that I served with, one night, the pastor was friends with him, and he had a small prayer group that met. And I thought, well, I'll just go. And so I talked to him. Mr. Lay, do you remember me? He said, yeah, you look familiar. And so we kind of gathered around in a circle just to pray for him and just the situation. And I remember the pastor said something to him that I'll never forget, because he said, I'd never spent this much time in prayer in my life. He was actually the son of a Baptist minister, ironically, and rose to prominence in business. But he said, Ken, you and I were better men back when we went to bed hungry every night. I never forgot that. And so fast forward again, he would be tried and convicted of crime, white-collar crimes. And so in the time he was to be sentenced, I guess, he went on vacation with his family up in Colorado, and he died of a massive heart attack. More than likely, it was stress-induced, I think, all that thing. So I don't really want to comment on his guilt or innocence, because I feel like that's in the Lord's hands, the righteous judge. But I just thought about sometimes in our lives how we look at things on the outside that appear to be successful people, companies, etc., and we don't really know what's really going on. And even in our own lives, right, we can look at and see things, and we have to really always kind of take inventory and really just remember that, hey, if we're not careful, we can cut corners and all that. So we need to always remember to our lives to remember what's really important and in our lives to seek him first. So anyway, I hope that's been a good encouragement to you today, just in all of our lives, to keep him number one. Remember, you've got a story to tell.